eight more people. I just do we need to tweet out the link or no?
Well, we are going to. I'm talking to Denny Carter. We're just kind of sort of waiting for this league to fill up, everybody. Welcome to Best Ball Live. James Koh here with you. Denny Carter, my co-host for today. You know him from NBC Sports Edge. You know him for having never been owned online.
Never.
Noted author, noted journalist. Denny Carter joining the program. Denny, I got to say, man, like your career, it's kind of like everything I wanted to do, you know. It's like you were a really good journalist, you know. It's like you're an author, for God's sakes, like, and now you're over at NBC Sports Edge doing your damn thing. And and I ran across one of your articles for the first time in a long time. I don't know why it's been so long, but again, you touting about the whole zero RB situation, and that strategy. But I just love reading all your stuff, man, and I'm really happy that you're joining the program.
Thanks, thanks for having me on, and I. Yeah, I do the zero RB trick every time, this time every year, you know, where the kids in the class say, do your trick, and I go, okay, I'm going to start the draft with 7 or 8 non-running backs, you know, and they love it. You know, it's a little party trick.
It's like it's like that scene from Family Guy when they're watching the movies, and you know, Peter Griffin is like watching movies where they say the name, the title of the movie in the movie, and he's like, he said it, he said it.
Exactly.
I feel good now.
Exactly. Yeah. And but thank you for the kind introduction.
Well, I mean, I think people like obviously know you for your fantasy football stuff, and again, we're just kind of sort of waiting for 7 people now to fill up this for this draft. But you know, it's interesting to me, and I'm kind of sort of this way too. It's like I've had a lot more awards and accolades doing regular journalism than I've ever had doing fantasy football. And obviously, this is a passion of mine, and I love doing it. And obviously, it's my primary source of work nowadays. But golly, man, many moons ago, like I actually did the whole journalism thing too. But you're still kind of sort of in that mold, aren't you?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, you know, I try to talk with beat writers for some of the pieces I do for NBC Sports Edge. I've been trying to make that a part of how I look at the game. But yeah, it's a long way away from covering the Prince George's County School Board here in Maryland, or covering the College Park City Council, which is something I did as a kid right out of college.
Well, I mean, that is where kind of local. Wow, we're really getting off on a tangent here, but that is where local journalism. You know, it's like that is where journalism starts. Is at these crazy city council meetings, man. But people don't know. People don't realize. People also don't realize how damn boring those things are too.
Oh, they're excruciating. But then you know, you stay long enough and you hear one important thing that's being discussed under the radar. And suddenly you have your story. Yes, you had to stay at the council meeting until 11:45 p.m., but and you're being paid peanuts for it, but it paid off. You're doing your journalistic duty. And yes, this is a complete tangent, but the death of local journalism is a very sad and concerning situation, I believe.
Oh my gosh, a man of my own heart. I try to pound that table all the time. Local journalism shrinking and dying away is such a problem. It's such a huge problem, and just the overall, you know, it's like, wow, I can't believe we are down this rabbit hole. But yeah, I mean, but again, like the lack of faith in journalism too nowadays at an all-time low, which is like, and then I see media members taking hits at journalism too. It's like, what are you guys doing? You know, what are you doing? It's
basically, without local media outlets, you know, city councils, town councils, these small government bodies are allowed to operate with impunity. Like they don't. There's nobody to hold them accountable, except for if you have a very you know, involved activist community. That those are the only ones that can hold them accountable.
We have officially lost every single Republican voter on the stream.
Probably, but you know, I'm expert at alienating people.
This
is something I really work on. I strive for.
As we are waiting, we'll shift now to fantasy football here. But as we are waiting, I don't know. We obviously don't know our draft position yet. We're still waiting on 6 people here. But I guess what are your overall thoughts, kind of going into a best ball draft?
Well, I go in with a plan, and I recognize that the the overriding advice, and it might be good advice, is to give what the draft gives you, to just take what it gives you, right? And go with the flow. But I try to implement a certain way of drafting a team, unless for some reason, and this hardly ever happens. I don't know about you, but it hardly ever happens where somebody's ADP plummets.
Right.
For no reason,
Right.
There had to have been some sort of injury news, some sort of coach speak that freaked people out. Like, people are sharp. Drafters are way sharper today than they were even 4 or 5 years ago. And unfortunately, and that's reflected. So I think that you can come in, with a plan. Usually mine is to get one workhorse running back and wait until probably 9th, 10th, 11th round to get my second running back. And then between that gap, I try to stock up. I try to get one really good tight end, one really good quarterback, and the rest wide receivers.
All right, so there you go. By the way, we are, of course, giving away multiple free entries into Best Ball Mania 2. It's a $25 free entry. All you got to do is at any point, first round through the 18th round, if you can guess my pick before we make it, you will be entered into this whole, lottery type thing. But, whatever. We try to make it as easy as possible for people to get multiple entries or whatever it is. Anyways, go guess my pick. And at the end of the stream, we'll let people know who won their Best Ball Mania 2 free entry. By the way, I want to say what's up to all the folks that are kind of sort of in the chat waiting for us to get off here. But Chris Woodruff is in the chat. Is it the Best Ball Mania or is it the pup? No, actually, we're just doing a regular old $5 league, because when you got two people, it's really hard to coordinate to get inside the same, puppy draft. So we're kind of doing this whole $5 league, and we'll see where we're going. But you know what? I don't know about Denny, but I kind of sort of draft my teams all the same. It's all first place or nothing. What I mean? So that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah, and especially, I know we're not doing the puppy thing right now, but when you're in a large field tournament like that, I mean, you kind of have to go a little bit off course. You kind of have to get crazy at some points.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. But that's how I draft anyways. I like getting crazy anyways. Like that's kind of sort of, I don't, it's like I do stuff that's going to be a little off kilter, but that's okay.
Right.
Mike Adamson is also in there. Oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off, Denny. Go ahead.
I was going to say, sometimes I do just a regular 10 or 12 team best ball, and I realize that I like quadruple stacked an offense, and I'm like, whoops, that's what you save for the large fields.
Right, that's exactly right. Our buddy Sal Pal's in the behind the scenes, but also in this draft. He's picking second overall. I've got the 9th pick, and it looks like you've got the 7th pick, Denny. So if you want to go 0 RB and do your thing, I mean, that's the perfect spot for it.
It is. And if I will be targeting Adams or Tyreek Hill there. And then possibly taking a running back with my second pick, which would be the 206. So and you know what, guys, listen, everybody who's watching, it's good to talk with someone who's in your league about your strategy, live while you're drafting, because it definitely gives you a better chance at getting the guys you want.
I mean, here's the deal, man. Like, if you're a 4for4 subscriber, there's a lot of sharps, man. Right. And it's like, already it's going to be a difficult draft, mm-hmm. But then like on top of that, you get to see my screen. And on top of that, I'm going to be distracted by talking. It's like, bro, I get it, man. Like, you get in this draft, you're lucky because it's literally an 11-man league. My money's dead money. My money is dead money, guys. Like, it's okay. Plus, I'm out here trying to like different strategies, like getting outside my comfort zone, doing stupid things like, I'm going to go. I hate drafting tight end early, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it and see what my roster looks like. But that's where we're at, man. So, again, Sal Pal on the clock here. Let's see where he goes. Christian McCaffrey, no surprise. Kind of sort of the consensus, top player overall, definitely. Especially with Saquon, dealing with the injuries he's going with. Antonio Gibson, 1.2. Oh my goodness, pal.
Cow.
That's okay.
That's strong. Okay. That's bold. I will say, if nothing else, it's bold. I guess he probably wouldn't have gotten Antonio Gibson with his second pick. So
I don't know. You think so, man? I think he at least had a 50-50 shot, I think, to be around.
I'm
Really, it kind of sort of just depends on how, everyone is viewing their draft, to be honest with you.
I'm just honored that Sal Palantonio is in the draft with us. That's really cool. I've been watching Sal Palantonio for years, since I was a kid.
Many moons,
You
many
know,
moons. All right, so here we are. You're on deck. Now you're on the clock.
I'm on the
It's
clock.
been all running backs through 6 picks. It is
So,
your choice of wide
yeah,
receivers. Travis Kelce's there too if you wanted to go tight end premium.
I have a really hard time not drafting Tyreek Hill.
Me too. Me
And
too.
part of the appeal is that
Yes.
in the second half of the season last year, he got a lot of intermediate targets, and that adds a whole new level of fantasy appeal. He already had the blow up appeal,
Right.
the week winning appeal of 2 touchdowns, 200 yards, whatever. But if he becomes a target hog underneath too, man, you can't beat that.
At the nine hole, I actually feel really good about taking Devonte Adams
Yeah.
because to me, all those things that you just said about Tyreek, great offense, explosive player, all of those type of things. It's like, again, Devonte Adams and Tyreek to me are just right there. And you can add Diggs to the mix as well. But those 3 players are just right there in terms of what you want to look for in terms of a profile wise on your first round draft pick.
Yeah, Adams, as you know, had a 30% target share ish during his 14 games last year, 14
Right.
full games. And you get 30% of the targets from Aaron Rodgers. That's pretty good. I'm bold enough to say that's good. That's what we're looking for.
Austin Eckler goes off. Calvin Ridley goes off. I've got a couple picks till my next pick. Certainly, there's going to be some interesting running backs here. It's Jonathan Taylor falling to 2.2. I feel like, I don't know, Denny. I feel like that's still just a touch rich for me, but still, I think that's a pretty decent price. We're seeing his ADP fall a little bit with the news of Carson Wentz and especially Quentin Nelson.
Yes, and if Carson Wentz doesn't miss any time, I think you're on, James.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
I'm trying to actually stretch it out a little bit so that I can,
Make sure. Yeah, and if Carson Wentz doesn't miss any time or only misses a week or two, and you're getting this discount on Jonathan Taylor today,
not bad.
I think that that will work out. Now, if he's out 6 weeks or whatever,
right.
that it's not going to be great, I think, for Jonathan Taylor. All right, so this is usually where this is your last chance to take like anybody who could even profile as a workhorse. So I'm going to take CEH.
Oh, I like it.
And
you're taking the top dog in potentially the top offense in the NFL. How do you go wrong?
Yeah, and it feels like everything that could go wrong did go wrong for CEH last year, and he still wasn't horrible for fantasy. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people who aren't horrible for fantasy.
Well, I think the major problem last year was the draft price. I think his draft price skyrocketed for whatever reason. And I always thought he was overvalued, I think he was like a top 6 player ADP wise. Last year. And I always thought, like, okay, do we know who we're dealing with here? It's like we're talking about a rookie running back in an Andy Reid offense, which is great, except Andy Reid always mixes in other backs. I'm like, I'm not seeing CEH as a top 6 pick, but in the second round, sign me up all day long.
He was going to have to blow up last year in order to justify his ADP. Like a huge season, like 12 to 15 touchdowns. 60 catches, something like that, and it just didn't unfold that way. I think that there is some legit question as to whether Patrick Mahomes will ever be the kind of quarterback that checks down to his running back. Because typically Andy Reid running backs have had a lot of involvement in the past game.
It's true.
I mean, that's how they've made their fantasy names. A lot of them. I think of Westbrook, obviously from the Philadelphia days, but.
Right.
I don't know if that's
Shady McCoy, another one. Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever going to happen with CEH because of Mahomes being able to make any throw that's humanly possible.
Yes, that is true. Although, can I say this? In his first 6 games, when there was no Le'Veon Bell and he wasn't dealing with injuries, this is a man, CEH, who saw just about 5 targets a game. He was really on pace for about 80 targets, which is that's not bad, like that's like a 60 catch season. And again, when you're talking about profiles of running backs that you want to take in the first round, that fits that bill. Yeah. So I get it. I think Damian Williams was hurt at that point too. But I think, again, when you look at the volume share in terms of what he was getting on the ground plus what he was getting through the air, man, I tell you, the volume certainly looks great.
Definitely. So I just took Kyle Pitts at 307, which is rich, I will say.
Yes, a bit.
But I didn't believe that he was going to get back to me at 406. And so it was a now or never situation. And I do think Pitts, I wouldn't mind, honestly, with the Falcons offense not having a whole lot of great targets, and Pitts being who he is, I wouldn't mind taking Pitts over Waller straight up.
Wow.
Maybe I'm off base there.
Well, I mean, I think the thing with Waller, right, is like we kind of sort of seen him do it, so we're used to it. We know what his role in the offense is going to be, and I think you're right. Certainly on paper, when you kind of sort of look at the environment there in Atlanta, and come on, Matt Ryan's still a pretty good quarterback, not for fantasy, but in real life, he's a pretty good quarterback. And yeah, who else is really going to be there? Russell Gage is kind of a blah player, like he's going to be playing out of the slot. Olamide Zaccheaus outside.
Right.
I mean, there's really not a whole lot. For all the reasons we love Calvin Ridley as a potential top overall fantasy wide receiver, you can apply the same logic, I think, to Kyle Pitts. I think you're right. It's just that, golly, it's such a slow developing position, isn't it?
It is, but I don't think that he'll be used as a traditional tight end, or at least I don't think he should be. But then again, I'm not the coach. I'm breaking news here. I'm not the coach of the Falcons, and so I can't say for sure. But I do think that the route distribution. I'm sorry, not that the target distribution in Atlanta will be pretty narrow, and so you're going to have Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley has like a decent shot of leading the league in targets this year. And that's something the media refuses to discuss. I'm kidding.
All right, guys, it's down to it here. You guys see my board. I'm really just stretching it out. I really did want Darrell Henderson. I've been just pounding the table for Darrell Henderson forever. Back when his ADP was like in the 12th round, I'm saying this guy should be, probably in like the 9th or 10th round, right? Mm-hmm. Now that he's got the starter gig and really the competition for running back touches is pretty scarce in LA, I guess I still don't understand the ADP. Like, and I say this all the time, but like at this point in the game, Denny, like it's August 5th, like, I get it. ADPs are slow to move up, and they never catch up really because for whatever reason, humans are just slow on this uptake. But it's like, okay, we're still thinking about him with like March ADP, and like we can't wrap our minds around like, okay, well, we should actually evaluate him and value him at what we probably would. Like if you were to like just throw all the names back into the pot and shuffle it up, like is Darrell Henderson really going to be a mid 4th round pick, lead back, not that much competition in a great offense in LA? Probably not.
No. And Sean McVay was pretty clear about how they're going to handle Darrell Henderson. And he mentioned, Henderson's history of injuries, not catastrophic injuries, but stuff that has kept him off the field, and that's important to coaches. McVay said he's not going to play it down. Talking about Henderson, Henderson's not going to play it down in the preseason. They're going to save him for the regular season. And then the Athletic reporter who covers the Rams for the Athletic, I forget her name, Rodriguez, I believe.
Jordan Rodriguez, I think is her name.
Yeah, I'm not positive how to pronounce that.
Yeah, okay.
So she reported that Xavier Jones and
Jake Funk.
I want to say Fred Funk all the time because of the golfer from the 90s. Anyway, they were also getting a few first team reps, and that they would kind of rotate with Henderson. So I don't think Henderson is like a 20 touch per game guy. But then again, if people believe that, he would be going in the second round.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's true. I agree with that. I don't think he's a 20 touch guy, but again, let's say he's like a 15 to 18 touch guy on a consistent regular basis in this great offense. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, again, I think he is going to, and obviously he's got to stay healthy, but if he does, he's going to absolutely smash his current ADP right now.
Yeah, definitely. And he's a really good pass catcher out of the backfield. And he plays with a quarterback who doesn't, who has no rushing prowess in Matthew Stafford. And so he could get those dump downs all season. And those cheap PPR points, I know it drives standard scoring truthers crazy, but personally I enjoy them.
I actually can't believe that Josh Allen fell to me this far. I really didn't have a plan to take quarterback early. Obviously, you take a look at my wide receivers: Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, Tyler Lockett. I'd love to stack one of those guys with one of their quarterbacks, but the slide for Josh Allen was pretty significant, pretty severe. I was actually surprised he was still there at the end of the fifth round. I wasn't planning on it, but golly, when you get an elite player like that to kind of sort of drop in your lap, I felt pretty good about taking him right there.
I'm not sure what's going on with Josh Allen's ADP. I know that there's been some talk in fantasy circles about, we've already seen the best that Josh Allen has to offer in 2020. Okay. And that, it's not going to be like that. Like now you're buying at the top of his market. You're basically you're drafting him at his ceiling, I guess, is the argument. But as long as he has that rushing upside, right, to go along with the great passing numbers that he put up last year, I feel like that's a little bit overblown. Like maybe he doesn't go nuts like he did last year, but he's still going to be worth the pick, especially when he falls like he did here.
All right, on the clock, and I got to be honest with you, I'm completely not paying attention. I have no one on the queue. So where am I going? Golly, there's quite a number of running backs that we're kind of in that running back dead zone right now. Oh my gosh, Michael Thomas is so interesting too. Probably pass on him. Yeah, you know what? Kareem Hunt, I feel like, is actually a very good pick here. Top of the sixth round. We know there's going to be some kind of timeshare there in Cleveland, and this is a guy that, again, especially in PPR, got a lot of passing down work. It's a system that Kevin Stefanski, you love. It's just outside zone run scheme, and both their guys, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, excel in that system. By the way, Stefanski too ran this same system for Dalvin Cook. Okay, and this is what we're kind of sort of working with here. And so we know that the system is good. We know that they're going to run the ball a lot. There's not a whole lot of passing attempts in that offense. They're going to pound you to death, and Kareem Hunt's certainly going to get some work.
Yeah, and then Hunt has the upside of a Nick Chubb injury or missed time. Sure. And then he becomes like, a plug and play top 5, top 10 guy.
Yep.
And I took Mike Williams. So wide receiver ADP has become so nuked on Underdog recently that Mike Williams used to be able to get him in the 8th or 9th round. Now you have to take him in the 6th round. It feels wrong. It
does feels extremely wrong. But walk me through that though, because you were actually still, even though his price, especially in Underdog, has just skyrocketed, you still feel comfortable with him there. Why?
Yeah, and I guess I picked him about 9 spots before his ADP. And I picked Jerry Jeudy 7-ish spots before his ADP. So, it is a situation where wide receivers are going so much earlier now that to wait on them and to say, okay, I'll put off wide receiver one more round.
Right,
you end up really, really scraping the bottom of the barrel sooner than you realize. And also, Mike Williams, 5th-year breakouts are pretty rare. But Sean Siegel from RotoViz wrote a really interesting piece on 5th-year breakouts and their profiles, what they look like, what kind of situations they're in. And Mike Williams checks a lot of boxes. And really for him, it's never been a matter of like, is he good or can he be a part of the Chargers offense? It's a matter of him being able to stay on the field. So
can he stay healthy? Yeah. And, in terms of like non-football skills, Denny, like, I don't know. Like for me, it's like there are certain like non-football skills that I wish certain players would learn. Like, and obviously the number one thing is like, could RG3 figure out how to slide properly? Like how much would that have extended his career? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the same thing with Mike Williams. It's like, bruh, can we figure out how to fall without just slamming ourselves onto the ground every single catch? I'm like, geez, it is so painful watching him catch balls in the air.
That's exactly right. He catches it. He falls right on his back. Like for some reason, every time he makes one of those amazing acrobatic catches, and then he's out for 3 games.
It's like, come on, bro. Like, come on, help me out. Help me help you. Like, let's learn how to fall. Like, I don't know what we got to do. Like, what do we got to do? Like, get a gymnast with him? Like, some American Ninja Warrior? Like, what do we got to do? Like, let's figure this out, guys.
Please stop doing that. For the love of God. All right. So, I want to get some sort of stacking situation going here. I'm going to take a quarterback. I'm going to take Justin Herbert because I have Mike Williams. My other stacking options, it could have been Mahomes like 5 rounds ago with Tyreek. It could have been Tom Brady. It could be Tom Brady later. And then there's no reason to really stack Broncos quarterbacks with their wide receivers.
No.
And I guess since I have Pitts, Matt Ryan would be one. But I don't feel compelled by any means to draft Matt Ryan just because I took Kyle Pitts.
Well, there's that. And plus, too, and again, it just kind of sort of like, hey, you could take him way, 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 way later. So, all right. So I am on the clock here, and I'm a little bit torn. Golly, I stretched out Michael Thomas. Do I like him? Oh, golly. You know what? I'm actually going to go off menu. I'm actually going to go Raheem Mostert. I'm actually surprised because where did Trey Sermon go? Sermon went, was it more than a round ahead? No, 7.1. So I took him, about 8 picks after Trey Sermon. And right now, Mostert's actually the leader in the clubhouse to be the starter for San Francisco. I love taking these San Francisco running backs, Denny, in this best ball format because I never have to actually figure out when they're going to blow up. Right. And you know that both of those guys are going to have blow up games. Right. And it's just, I don't have to figure it out. Best ball will take care of that for me. And again, when you're kind of sort of taking a look at running backs after this point, what are we really looking at here? Guys that are very uncertain in terms of workload and especially upside.
Raheem Mostert would be going 3 rounds earlier if they had not drafted Trey Sermon.
Right.
And I get that people are excited about Trey Sermon in that Shanahan offense. I understand that. But first of all, Mostert has fantastic long speed. So you talk about blow up games, big weeks. I think Mostert is the clear favorite to have those sort of weeks over Sermon. I guess unless Sermon just absolutely dominates goal line touches, which it's not out of the range of outcomes, but I would think that Mostert is being a little bit underdrafted, and I think Sermon's being very much
a little bit overdrafted. Yeah,
very much in redraft. I can't speak for Dynasty, but geez, people are acting like it's his job.
Well, they certainly spent the draft capital on him, so I kind of sort of get that. All right, I really have a choice here. I am really torn.
Ooh.
I think I'm going to go Mooney. Oh, I just missed my pick, and I went Will Fuller, but that's okay. Let me tell you what. I don't hate the pick, but at the same time, I don't love it, and the reason being is what is Will Fuller can Will Fuller be Will Fuller in this offense? Mm-hmm. And it's funny, like I had queued up Darnell Mooney, FF Joe, right behind me would have been tilting hard. But it's interesting because Will Fuller, we know is prone to these, splash plays. From what I saw last year, Denny, I don't think Tua's the guy. Like, is Tua the guy to pull that trigger when Will Fuller's streaking downfield? Like, is he that guy if he's going to be covered, 15, 20 yards downfield, safety coming over the top and allowing Will Fuller to make that play? From what we saw last year,
no,
I don't think he's going to do that, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm a little bit iffy on the whole Will Fuller thing. I know we've seen it, Denny, throughout his entire career that this man has made splash plays. But boy, we're really narrowing that margin of error when we're talking about a quarterback like Tua.
Apparently, and I'm with you. I mean, Tua was by every measure really, really poor last year. Mm-hmm. They've tweaked the playbook, changed the playbook completely so that it's not made for Ryan Fitzpatrick anymore, which is good. And they've expanded it. He's a year further removed from that horrible hip injury he had in college. And I was looking at his downfield passing numbers at Alabama, and he was good. He was accurate. He was efficient as a downfield passer. And so I think there's some hope. You can have some hope that Tua can turn it around in the deep throwing department. I like Will Fuller a lot. I think that the 1 game suspension kind of freaks people out a little bit,
right?
So and I understand that, but Will Fuller has produced time and time and time again.
Yeah.
And I do think that he's a guy, especially if you go running back early in a draft, like to scoop him up and hope that he has that deep connection, that deep ball connection with Tua is there's some reason to hope for that or believe that'll happen.
All right, so you're on deck, Denny. We'll take a look at your team very quickly. You've got 5 wide receivers, 1 running back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, kind of your hero RB strategy, not zero RB, but hero RB. And boy, that collection of wide receivers looking pretty nice. Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Jerry Jeudy. And golly, I missed that you picked up Elijah Moore, who I just am in love with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh shoot. Oh gosh, I'm on the clock. Man. Shoot. Did I miss it? Oh, I got it.
You picked up Ronald Jones. Is that the guy?
I did.
Is that the guy?
I meant to pick him. Yeah. believe it or not. Yes.
I got to get to these quarterback picks in just a minute here, but let me make my pick. And golly, man, both of these guys very intriguing to me at this point in the draft. We're talking late 9th round, basically 10th round. Michael Pittman, AJ Dillon. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I will go with AJ Dillon just because there are a few other wide receiver prospects that I really like. And listen, anyone who's followed me knows I am just in love with Michael Pittman. But again, Carson Wentz, Quentin Nelson, those injuries certainly scare me off of his current price. Mm-hmm. But can we go back, Denny, really quick?
Yeah.
You take a look at the 9th round here, and there was a bunch of quarterbacks that went off the board, right? Like it was Trey Lance, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, and then Ryan Tannehill was the latest pick of that bunch. And I am just absolutely baffled by it. Ryan Tannehill is somebody that was really good last year.
Yeah.
40 total touchdowns, gives you some rushing floors as well. Like I'm baffled by it. You add Julio Jones into the mix. Like, what am I missing here? Why is he going so late in drafts?
I think it's this belief that the Titans have and always will be a super run heavy offense that means that their passing game is going to have to be very efficient. And maybe the belief is that they can't keep that up year after year after year. I'm guessing, but I do believe that Tannehill is probably the most underdrafted quarterback in fantasy today. Like you said, he has some rushing appeal, And something every year we assume a team is going to be run heavy, and then they pass a lot more than we believed. They would.
God, Buffalo was like the prime example of that last year. Jesus.
And for the first 9 or 10 weeks, Seattle was the same way,
right.
And so I think that Tennessee fits that profile pretty well as a team that will see its run pass ratio shift a little bit, and that's probably going to be good for Tannehill, and then of course his pass catchers.
I just took Emmanuel Sanders there. I drafted Josh Allen, and going Sanders there is obviously early, but I kind of have this mentality, Denny, and I don't know how you draft, but it's like once you get to the 10th round, I kind of sort of don't really care about ADP. It's like there are guys like, listen, I'm not going to take a guy I could get in the 15th round in the 10th round, but like if I'm overpaying like 20 spots, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think once you get into the later part of the draft, to abide by ADP, to say, oh, I can't take this guy because the numbers don't align, it's a little silly. And I've done that before. But if you want a guy and or at least suspect that he's not going to come back to you,
right?
You take him. Just take him.
And that's kind of where, we're both kind of sort of in that spot, where it's just like, hey, listen, you can always say, well, just go get your guy. But I mean, especially when you're like around that turn area and you've got to wait a lot of picks between your next couple of picks. It's like, again, you can kind of sort of eschew ADP to a large degree, I think. And that's kind of sort of always been my approach when I'm drafting, especially when we get into the double-digit rounds.
Yeah, it's a hard balance to strike, because you definitely don't want to draft a guy who you believe you could get on your next go around. Like that's silly. There's no reason to, like, I get like your guys are your guys and taking a stance on a player. I get the appeal of all that, but it's also a game. Right. And we don't want to be the Raiders in the NFL draft and take guys, and take guys who would be there 37 picks later.
Good point. Don't be the Raiders.
Don't be the Raiders, man. And
if we have learned anything today, don't be the Raiders in your fantasy draft. I love it.
And they the Raiders took. Speaking of the Raiders, Rondale Moore went. Oh man. Well, I'm going to take Henry Ruggs here to add to my slate of wide receivers, because there are so many vacated targets in that Vegas offense.
Right.
And apparently Henry Ruggs is, looking usable this year for the Raiders, whereas that was not the case. That was not the case in his rookie season. I'm not a Ruggs guy by any means, but it's hard to, volume wise, I think that he blows most of these other guys out of the water.
It's interesting that you would say that, because I actually don't know if it's that clear in Las Vegas. Like Bryan Edwards was making a lot of camp noise last year. He's doing the exact same thing this year. John Brown, who they added for basically nothing, but he's another player that I think is a very good player and still has a little bit of juice. Look, I know he's probably not going to play 16, 17 games or whatever, but again, if he plays 5 or 6, like how much does that cut into Henry Ruggs? All right, so I am on the clock. Hold on, and I'll let you respond. But hold on, let me. Golly, who do I like the most of this group? Oh my gosh. Okay, I guess I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Adam Troutman. Again, it's like a slow developing position. Who do they got? Michael Thomas is going to be out for a long time. Somebody's got to get targets. I'm not impressed by any of their wide receivers at all. Troutman was actually a highly regarded tight end prospect, a multi-dimensional athlete, played quarterback a little bit at Dayton in high school as well. So give me the guy who's a good athlete, a multi-dimensional dude playing in a Sean Payton offense, and let's see what we can do. But I'll give the floor to you, Denny, as I'm kind of sort of waiting for my pick, but to kind of respond to the whole Las Vegas situation where I'm kind of like, I'm not sure what the volume load is going to look like for Henry Ruggs.
Yeah. I think you're right about what you were saying about John Brown and Bryan Edwards. Although it's hard for me to buy into Bryan Edwards after what happened last year with the team talking about him,
Oh my
very
God,
positively,
they
and then
completely talked him up. Yes.
but yeah, what I meant is that Ruggs in this part of the draft with the wide receivers surrounding him, I
Yeah.
think that he has some target upside, whereas the other guys who were going, Terrace Marshall, Jalen Reagor, Traquan
Right.
Smith, I just don't think that they have the same sort of target based upside. Gabriel Davis is another one.
Right.
Maybe Cole Beasley, maybe Jacoby Myers, but Myers is he's as risky as like a 12th rounder can be, because if it's Cam Newton, you're talking about Myers seeing 5 or 6 targets, maybe 7 targets a game. But if they go to a more like traditional offense with Mac Jones, then you're talking about 10, maybe double-digit targets.
Yeah. And the more that we're kind of seeing of Cam and hearing the reports too, like I almost feel like I hope they go to Mac Jones earlier than later. Like I hope it doesn't take them 6 games to figure out, okay, Cam's not the guy, right? Like I don't love Mac Jones. I don't think he's a great prospect, but at this point with the injuries and all of those things with Cam, it's like, I almost want to say like, I would rather have almost anybody who can sling it a little bit,
right.
Than what Cam is presenting.
Yeah. So I think it makes the Patriots way more fun for fantasy and way more relevant for fantasy, because here's what it opens up a lot for a lot of players. So Cam starting means that he's the goal line back, the primary goal line back for New England, which means that Damian Harris's touchdown upside is absolutely destroyed. And then there's the low volume passing that is inherent in a Cam Newton led offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that really is a major hit to Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar, whoever else is catching passes. And then Cam himself is not really fantasy viable except for outside, maybe super flex leagues, with his latter day shoulder injuries and injury issues. So I want Mac Jones to get that job just for fantasy purposes. I think that it would open up a lot of fantasy potential for a lot of players.
All right, so here we go. Let's see. Let's take a look at some of these most recent picks. I love the Alexander Mattison, Jamal Williams. I especially like Jamal Williams too, by the way. I don't think I don't think anyone thinks he's a world beater as a talent, but like, look at the roster, man. Like, there's nothing behind DeAndre Swift. And this is a team, obviously, with their coaching staff set up the way it is, they're going to run the ball a lot. And I even feel like even if they're in a negative game script, Denny, like they're going to still try to, force some running back touches. Mm-hmm. And even in a way, I almost wonder, like, will Anthony Lynn sub in Jamal Williams as a quote unquote pass catching back if they are facing a lot of large deficits? It's possible.
Yeah. I mean, DeAndre Swift is very good catching passes out of the backfield, obviously, but Jamal Williams, that's what he did in his years in Green Bay.
Yes.
Like he really excelled at that. Jamal Williams is really interesting from a zero RB perspective, because if you're going zero RB, if you're ideologically committed to it, you're not going to end up with DeAndre Swift most likely. So you go down the board, you get Jamal Williams. Williams will probably have weekly usefulness. I don't know how much in a possibly terrible Detroit offense. I don't know how much.
Awful.
But then the upside is he's a unquestioned 3-down back for the Lions if anything befalls Swift.
Right. If carnage reigns, and that's really what you're kind of. I don't want to say you're hoping for injuries, but you're hoping for chaos.
Well,
if you're doing zero RB,
that there are every year you go into the season knowing that there are known unknowns, right?
Yes. Right.
You know that chaos will strike, and making a lineup where that gets better with that chaos is something that I go for.
By the way, can I just say, I know some of y'all are watching this stream, man. Like, get out of town with you guys taking Brian Edwards in the 13th round just because he's queued up on my screen. Get all the way out of here. Like Sal Pal taking Amon-Ra St. Brown. I see you, Sal Pal. That's not cool, bro. That is not cool, Sal Pal. So yeah, now I'm like over here just kind of like looking at my list like, okay, what do I do? It's like, all right, I guess we'll go JD McKissic, pass catching running back, adding a little bit of balance to my team here. I've got 5 running backs now. 2 of them I feel really good about. Actually, 3 of them I feel really good about with Darrell Henderson, Kareem Hunt, and Raheem Mostert. AJ Dillon's going to get some work, and JD McKissic too. Is going to get a little bit of work too. This guy was absolutely ridiculous as a pass catcher, and I'm not anticipating that to stay the same, but he'll get some work. Yeah.
I'm convinced that running back targets are a quarterback stat. So a running back like McKissic is going to really thrive under Alex Smith, who was the king of the dump off pass. Yeah. And I'm sorry to Sal Pal for. Maybe being critical of his favorite player of all time, but he's a king of the dump off. So
yes.
I think that we all we want to will Antonio Gibson to have 100 targets this year,
right?
But the fact that they kept McKissic, the fact that he's still involved in the first team offense in training camp, tells me that he's not going anywhere.
The other thing about it too, it's like, okay, I get it. Like he's JD McKissic, but this dude saw 110 targets last year, had 80 grabs. Like, yes,
right.
That's just bonkers to me. And again, they add Curtis Samuel in the offseason. I'm not fully anticipating that workload to be the same. But that being said, like, how do you just erase 110 targets out of that offense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, he's not going to see that many, but
no.
He is going to cap that pass catching upside of Gibson. Even though I hate saying that because I have fair exposure to Gibson this offseason, and I don't want it to happen, but you can't ignore that. I'm in a little bit of a tough spot at quarterback. I wanted to mention. Well, right now I think I need to take a running back because things are. I'm
Are you in a tough spot though? You've got Herbert and Fields. That's a good duo.
It is, but if Matt Nagy is really insistent on Fields not playing, then
right.
I'm one Justin Herbert missed game away from not having any quarterback points in this lineup. So I think I am going to add somebody to the quarterback room here. Whether it's Zach Wilson or Derek Carr, maybe just someone to shore up. I don't like taking 3 quarterbacks, but I don't feel comfortable just going with Herbert and Fields.
Yeah, and it is really interesting though, because I tell you what, man, Fields presents some serious upside with that rushing ability that we think that he has. I mean, the guy's got unbelievable speed. Obviously, he didn't test, but just from what we know, what we've seen, the estimated 40 times for Justin Fields, it's like, come on, man, like this guy can absolutely blow it up. So I love that pick, and where he's going in drafts, it just feels like a bargain every single time. I see Justin Fields go off the board. I'm like, yeah, that's a good deal. That's a good bargain right there.
Yeah, so if tomorrow Matt Nagy said, yeah, I was playing with you guys, Andy Dalton's not our starter, it's Justin Fields, we would see, which he should probably just do that, but we would see Justin Fields go in the 5th or 6th round of best ball drafts, like right around like Dak, Kyler.
Yeah.
Just because of that.
Probably a little bit later. I would say probably a round or 2 after those guys, because again, we've seen those guys post the numbers. You know what I mean? Especially sure. Kyler, which is interesting. Like Kyler finished as the quarterback 1 last year, depending on what week we're counting. But Kyler was right there, and it's interesting that he's still going in like the 6th round. You know what I mean? Like 5th, 6th round. So I would imagine Justin Fields probably goes a little bit after that. Probably 7th or 8th. It would be my thought even if Nagy said, okay, he's our day one starter.
Sure. Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit too excited about Fields. But I feel the same way about Lance. It's just, every time we have an unproven mobile quarterback in fantasy, there's a large swath of fantasy managers who say, never seen him do it, so I don't know. But the rushing upside is just tremendous. All right, I'm on the clocks here. So I need, oh boy. I'm going to take one more running back here, and it's going to be, oh God. Oh geez. Oh, this is terrible. I have 4 seconds.
This is the tricky part about drafting live.
I missed my pick
while doing it. Oh no, you took T.Y. Hilton. No,
disaster.
Say it ain't so.
Get better, Carson.
Say it ain't so. Not T.Y. Hilton. No. All right. I'm on the clock here. I'm going to let you mourn your pick for a little bit here. And I'm actually thinking quarterback. I like Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, and even to a degree Jared Goff, because they're going to be trailing so much. But you know what? Give me the guy that I think can make it happen a little bit in Zach Wilson. I'm not one of those people that's given up on Sam Darnold. Like, I think, I do think that he can rebound very nicely because he's getting away from Adam Gase, guys. Like, you don't need to look any further than Ryan Tannehill to understand what that means. You get away from one of the worst coaches in NFL history, all of a sudden you start looking like a little bit of a better player. And not only that, it's like, Denny, the weapons that he's got, the wide receiver room is looking actually pretty nice. You don't love it. But golly, there are worse wide receiver rooms in the NFL.
I think you can love it. I think, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Terrace Marshall, I think that's what, at least a top half. Top half. Room.
You know what's crazy too? You don't even factor in the fact that, like, Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield, right? Like, that's going to add to Sam Darnold's totals too.
Yes, right. I knew I was forgetting someone. Darnold. I was taking him probably too much to start the offseason. I've kind of cooled it on that. Here's the trick about best ball is that you can justify any pick by yelling about exposure. Yes. I'm too exposed. I'm not exposed enough. I need more exposure. I need less exposure. That's all you have to say. Why'd you take that guy over that guy? Exposure.
Right. Exposure, baby.
That's it. I love it. It covers everything.
I'm going to ensure my Darrell Henderson pick a bit. We had talked a little bit about Darrell Henderson missing some time. I'm sure there's no one that could have possibly guessed I was going to take Xavier Jones in the 16th round, for God's sakes, right? I would hope. I don't know. Sal Pal, you correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, again, I picked Darrell Henderson in the 4th round. 12 rounds later, you talk about ensuring that pick a little bit. So I feel pretty good about that. And by the way, Sean McVay has let it be known repeatedly over and over and over again, which is why I've always said that Henderson was a good value, that they're going to run a little bit of a committee there in LA. Like, it's never going to be just one guy. And can either Xavier Jones or Jake Funk be that guy? Maybe, again, I don't love, Xavier Jones, but if you're taking him in the 16th round to ensure your RB1 on your squad, I don't feel bad about it.
In best ball, that I feel like that's a little less appealing, because you're kind of capping the upside. You know what?
There. That's true. Right.
But Xavier Jones does seem to be the next in line, and in a good offense, almost any running back can put up like really solid fantasy lines. I know some people don't really love to hear that, but it's true. I mean, do you remember what CJ Anderson did in the Rams offense when he rolled off his couch?
Yep.
And became an RB1.
Yes. He was basically like 90% of Todd Gurley.
Yeah. So it happens. It can happen. It does happen. It will continue to happen.
It almost sounds like you're saying RBs don't matter. Is that what we're doing?
Well, I'm gonna be very careful with the language, and I'm gonna say that the running back position doesn't matter. Running backs themselves,
so
the human beings who play the position,
yes.
they matter. Man,
they matter, baby.
They matter to their moms.
Yeah.
They matter to they matter as voters.
Right.
They
matter, 100%. 100% that. Yes. All that.
Are they replaceable in fantasy? I believe so. All right.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to go with OJ Howard as my tight end 2, which, some would say I'm walking a dangerous line. But OJ Howard was leading all Tampa tight ends in targets last year before his season-ending injury. And he was leading in targets per route over Gronk and over Brate. So
all right, I'm looking around here. I do need a tight end. I don't know if I'm gonna reach on these guys, man, but oh god, and there's some other guys that I'm interested in. Maybe take Van Jefferson here. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry for this, guys, but I need to address the situation that I got going on outside my room right now. Okay, I will be right back. I'm so sorry.
I can run with it. There's no problem. Now, look, we are coming into the last round here. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I added another quarterback, Taysom Hill, another quarterback who may not even get starts this year. So I now have Justin Fields and Taysom Hill. Hopefully they will start some games this year. This is my hope. I'm going to end here with a running back when it is my turn, which will be soon. I only have 4 running backs, and that's an iffy build. I guess the top ones would be Darrington Evans, which I'm not super high on him. Pete Overzet loves Darrington Evans, so maybe I should just shut up and take him. And then Ramondre Stevenson, who I believe has been canceled for fantasy purposes after New England running backs coach Ivan Fears said, when asked, what does Ramondre Stevenson have to improve on? He said, everything. This was a devastating blow to those of us who have been drafting Stevenson throughout the offseason. But we retain some hope that Stevenson will be active on game day. And really, in the 18th round, what you're going for is, a guy who will be active on game day and maybe see a few carries.
I am back. I
kept it going. It's okay. It's okay.
I apologize. Oh my gosh, that was insane. The joys of working from home.
Oh yeah, I feel you.
With a year old son.
Oh man.
Okay, so obviously I kind of came back. Luckily, I came back into my pick, which is insane. I did have Dawson Knox lined up, and again, my tight end situation is not looking ideal, but I do believe in Adam Troutman and Dawson Knox, obviously pairing him up with Josh Allen to kind of sort of create this like little mini poor man stack with Josh Allen, Emmanuel Sanders, and now Dawson Knox.
I like stacking those elite quarterbacks with like their secondary and I guess tertiary pass catchers. Right. Well, Tannehill's a little different, but like I have a lot of teams with Tannehill Ferkser stacks, for instance.
There you go.
I think that's or Russell Wilson, Gerald Everett.
I feel much more confident in those two stacks than the Josh Allen Dawson Knox stack. I'll tell you that much.
Did you see the NBC Sports Edge blurb on Dawson Knox yesterday?
I did not. Please fill me in.
It's good news, James. Listen, Dawson Knox has basically secured the tight end 1 spot. So the Athletics, the Athletics Joe Buscaglia said. I'm sorry. He said Jacob Hollister has missed a lot of time, and Knox looks to be the tight end 1. Oh, I can't find the exact blurb for some reason, but but yeah, and this hurts as someone who has long drafted Jacob Hollister with the hope that he'll do something one day. I don't think it's happening in Buffalo.
Wow. I'm not sure it's happening at all.
No, I don't know.
Jacob Hollister. Can you, by the way, Sal Pal, we would be remiss if we did not take Kylan Granson, rando rookie tight end there in Indianapolis.
Come on.
I don't know, man. He's like become the unofficial. I'm telling you, he's become the unofficial official tight end of this program for whatever reason. Danny Kelly from The Ringer had a lot of really nice things to say about Kylan Granson, and I guess the coaching staff there in Indianapolis really took to him as well in the pre-draft process. So, I don't know, man. I'm just making stuff up at this point, but Kylan Granson.
Yeah, well, we had a blurb the other day where a reporter, beat writer for Indianapolis, said that Kylan Granson has justified Frank Reich's love.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about.
If first of all, I like a Madonna reference, and secondly, that's intense. That's intense, and Frank Reich's offense, it can be good for tight ends. It's just a matter of can one guy take on that pass catching role, and that hasn't been the case.
No, that can't be the case. Before Jack Doyle got beset by all these injuries, I was a huge Jack Doyle guy. Mm-hmm. But injuries have slowed him down considerably. And then again, target share and snap share probably not the best with Mo Alley Cox in the mix, and now I guess Kylan Granson potentially in the mix as well. But again, rookie tight end, fourth rounder, probably the third string guy. I don't know, man. He's probably not going to do anything. As a matter of fact, I can say with confidence he probably will not do anything at all. But that's okay. Denny, before I let you go, let's take a look at the draft board, at the completed draft board. We'll start with your draft and walk me through kind of, how you're feeling about it. Do you feel good? Where could you have, improved, or where do you feel like you killed it? You know what I mean? Take a look at your draft here and evaluate.
It's one of the best ball teams ever drafted, I think. No, I'm just kidding. But,
many people say. Many people say.
More and more are saying this.
Yes.
I'm going to be forever tilted about the T.Y. Hilton auto pick. I mean, that's tough. But let's hope Carson Wentz doesn't miss a lot of time. So I took Randall Cobb as my wide receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as my wide receiver 7. And, I feel pretty good about that because I think that we'll see his ADP rise as the weeks go on here. But he's set as the slot receiver for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers' high-scoring offense. So
by the way, I get so frustrated with that because it's like, all right, he's got this just horrific contract, and I get that he restructured or whatever. It's still awful. Like he would be going for like 1/10 of that amount on the open market, right? So, so it's like, okay, so it's an awful deal. And it's like, can you imagine? You could have just avoided this whole situation if you had just said, forget it. We're going to appease Aaron Rodgers. We're going to take Elijah freaking Moore in the first round of the draft and just call it a day. Now you wouldn't have to take on this awful Randall Cobb contract. It's like you've got this stud rookie playing in the slot, a position of need for the Green Bay Packers, playing alongside Devontae Adams with Aaron Rodgers back in the fold. The Packers would be back up and running, baby. But no, they take a guy in Amari Rodgers who is I guess, so ill thought of now that an ancient, decrepit Randall Cobb is going to come in and take that starting job from him. That's crazy to me, bro. What's going on, Green Bay? Why are you doing this to yourselves?
It is. They definitely shot themselves in the foot. And by the way, Randall Cobb is 31.
I know.
That's wild.
I know. It seems like he's 40. I know. It's crazy.
He's been playing since the first Obama administration, and I don't mean to get political, by the way. But yeah, what were we talking about? I completely lost track.
Your roster construction.
Yeah. Roster construction.
Right,
so
right.
I feel good about Cobb. The running backs are, the way I draft these teams, the running backs are always going to be pretty iffy at the end. I have
dicey.
CEH, Ronald Jones, Latavius Murray, Damian Williams, and Darrington Evans. Darrington Evans is basically a 0 unless something happens to Derrick Henry.
Right.
Damian Williams, I don't believe, is a 0. I think that he's going to be involved weekly. If Sean Payton goes with Taysom Hill as the week 1 starter, I think that we're going to see a very run-heavy New Orleans offense that doesn't really involve the wide receivers too much, and that very much involves very heavily involves Murray and of course Kamara as kind of dual threat out of the backfield. So that's my hope with Murray. Ronald Jones was good last year as a rusher.
Yeah, he was.
As a pass catcher, disaster.
He had trash can hands. Yeah, okay.
Disaster. But he was way better as a rusher than Leonard Fournette, than Lombardi Lenny. So I'm comfortable taking him above, Lenny. And then hopefully Clyde Edwards-Helaire can carry my running backs for at least most of the season.
The nightmare situation in Tampa Bay would be that Gio Bernard actually works in on pass catching work, and Lombardi Lenny then becomes like regular season Lenny, and Ronald Jones they both end up splitting early down work, and then it's like, all right, cool. I guess we can't have a usable fantasy asset in Tampa Bay.
That would not be great. I do have. Speaking of exposure, I am overexposed to Gio Bernard.
I see. All right.
And so I'm trying to not take him in every single draft. And the reason is mostly price point. I mean, he's going really late.
Yes.
It's an area of need for Tampa. Like all year last year, the coaches and Brady and everybody were complaining about the running backs dropping passes, and when they go out and they get like a pass catching specialist, I think you need to pay attention. So I do like Gio, but back to my team. The tight end situation is I'm skating on thin ice here. I have Kyle Pitts and OJ Howard. If Pitts misses any time, if Howard is and Howard is fully practicing and everything, but if Howard has any sort of setback with that recovery, then I'm looking at zeros for tight ends. But I do when you spend so much draft capital on tight end, I feel no reason to take one until the very last round.
Totally agree. Totally, completely agree. And as a matter of fact, I when I look at my roster, that's where I failed. I completely failed at tight end. I took Adam Troutman with my first tight end pick in round 11, which is fine. But then you want to be able to, in terms of roster construction for best ball, you really want to add, probably another 2 pieces there. I think if Dawson Knox was my third piece at tight end, I'd feel really good about that position group, right? But that's not the case. I only have 2 tight ends. One is Adam Troutman. The other one's Dawson Knox. Again, not the best roster construction, very fragile build, and you're really hoping for some good things to happen, which is that's tough in these situations. Certainly could, but again, I think I did fail a bit at that position for my own team. Other than that, though, I got to be honest with you, I actually like the way I built my team. I've got a premium quarterback in Josh Allen. And, Zach Wilson as a second quarterback is kind of just there as a bye-week filler because let's be real, if something were to beset Josh Allen, who cares about your best ball team? It's done.
It's done.
So who cares? So yes, but again, when I take a look at my running backs with Darrell Henderson, Kareem Hunt, Raheem Mostert, A.J. Dillon, I'm kind of sort of like locked into some decent workload. And then on top of that, if chaos were to happen on those respective teams, I kind of sort of fall into some good graces as well. So I really liked my running back build, and then my wide receivers, Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, Tyler Lockett. it's going to be tough to supplant those guys on a weekly basis, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Will Fuller's got some upside. Emmanuel Sanders, I could pair him. Again, building a little poor man stack there with Josh Allen. So I actually am okay with my build. By the way, Terrace Marshall, that guy, I love that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he can absolutely emerge as a potential go-to X receiver in Carolina. Like, I know he played a ton of slot at LSU, but does that remind you of another rookie who went for 1,400 yards last year? You know what I mean? Like, he profiles as an X. It just happens to be that LSU ran this, offense through their slot receiver just because they saw that that's where a lot of, cornerback coverage kind of sort of fell off.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I love Terrace Marshall.
Touchdowns are, I think, where Terrace Marshall is going to shine or can shine in that Carolina offense. First of all, he's joining his former coordinator in Joe Brady, in Carolina. And then, neither Robbie Anderson nor DJ Moore are huge red zone targets or big touchdown scorers.
Nope.
And Marshall can be. He can be. And so I don't know if you'll get the sort of like explosive yardage games that we saw Justin Jefferson have last year, but as like maybe the 2B option in Carolina, and I don't know who would be the 2A. Honest, I guess Anderson, and then Moore would be the one. But yeah, I think Marshall is one of the more interesting late round wide receiver picks.
Yeah, no doubt. Took him in the 12th round. Okay. As you're kind of sort of looking around though, Denny, very quickly, give me kind of a team that maybe kind of jumps out to you, either positively or negatively. Maybe it's a collection of picks, maybe it's their roster build. But is there any team on here that kind of sort of jumps out to you and you're like, that's interesting?
While
you're kind of doing that, let me fill the gaps here and announce the winners for this week's Best Ball Mania 2 giveaway. Tom Studevant, Bootsy, and Jim W are the winners this week. And I say this every week, but y'all got to be patient. It's like I get like messages like 12 hours after the fact, where's my entry? And it's like, guys, it takes some time. Just let it breathe. You'll get it. Don't worry. We ain't forgetting about you. So you will get that $25 free entry. By the way, I hope you guys are following me on YouTube. And if you're not, rectify that situation, because that is one of the requirements to win this entry fee is follow me on YouTube and obviously watch this stream, guess the picks, all those kind of things. So there you go. So yes, as I kind of danced around there for you, Denny, you took a look. Yes, perfect. What do you got for me?
Our buddy Pat James, who drafted at the turn, has, I think, created a really solid roster here with Eckler in the first, and then Calvin Ridley, Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin as his wide receivers 1 through 3. Got Josh Jacobs there, which I think in the fifth, that's fine. And then
he's going to get volume. I mean, we know that.
Yeah, and if the Raiders can like create a decent amount of neutral or positive script, I think he will. Kyler Murray is Pat's quarterback 1, and then Daniel Jones is his quarterback 2. Just the way the roster is constructed, Boston Scott at the end, which is a really good pick, and I wish that I had been eyeing Boston Scott after
smart pick. After
the reports are that he's going to split touches in the Philadelphia backfield.
Right.
And we know whether that's a little bit overblown or not. It doesn't really matter all that much because, like right here, he went in the 17th round. It's not like you have to make a hard decision on Boston Scott in the 10th round, or 8th round or something. I mean, the 17th. Who cares? He's going around, Tevin Coleman, and I would much rather have Boston Scott than Tevin Coleman. So I think the roster build in total for Pat James is really good.
Not bad at all. All right, so there you go. Denny, let the folks know where they can find your work and kick us off here, man.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at CDCarter13. Many would tell you not to follow me, but I'm asking you to. And then And then you can find all my writing on NBCSportsEdge.com. And we also have a deal this week, a discount on our draft guide and all of the supplements to help you get ready for your draft.
I love it. I absolutely love it. By the way, Sal Pal, do me a favor, fly that graphic that tells people about the deal. It's the best deal in fantasy football. It really is. If you deposit $10 in a brand new Underdog Fantasy account, you will get a free 4for4 Pro subscription. Plus, you will get $25 in Underdog Bucks. All you got to do is use that code BBL, Best Ball Live. That's the program you're watching right now. James Koh, Denny Carter. We appreciate everyone watching and participating. It's been a lot of fun. For Denny Carter, the great Denny Carter, who has never been owned online.
Amazing.
Ever. I'm James Koh. We will see you guys next week, where we will be giving away a fresh batch of free Best Ball Mania 2 giveaways. We'll see you then.